Thank you all again for coming out. As you are aware, a couple of days ago, one of our officers was severely injured in a shooting, Officer William Fazekas. As a result of that, we collaborated with Lake County Sheriff's Office as well as other law enforcement agencies across the county to bring a swift and speedy end to that situation that occurred. The officers not only responded to the scene immediately, but shortly thereafter they were able to apprehend the suspect at or close to the scene. I, as the mayor, certainly am grateful for their actions and want to commend all of the officers, certainly our Gary Police Department, Lake County Sheriff's Office, and all of the other officers and agencies from across the county who joined to help in the search and apprehension of the suspect. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the residents in the immediate area who also stepped up to give assistance and brought us to the point that we are today. In doing so, I want to mention the bravery of two officers who were the first to respond to the scene, and that would be Officer, his name escapes me only because of just thinking about it a lot, but in any event, that was Officer Gutierrez, is Reserve Officer Gutierrez, and Officer Briggs of the Gary Police Department. Both of those gentlemen showed tremendous bravery and courage in the light of the situation, and again, were able to help us bring an easy resolution. Finally, I want to close before I bring prosecutor up and say that we do not live on an island called Gary. We have shown time and time again that we work best when we work together, and in this instance, that collaboration certainly brought this situation to the point we are today. And as the city of Gary and certainly Gary Police Department, we embrace that type of collaboration and want to certainly express our deep gratitude to everyone who helped us get to the point we are. Without further delay, Prosecutor Carter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Mayor. As the Mayor mentioned, my name is Bernard Carter. I'm the Lake County Prosecuting Attorney. Today at approximately 1 o'clock, we filed charges, criminal charges against a Kmar Tremar Cooks Jr. Count 1 is attempted murder. It's a level 1 felony in the state of Indiana. The probable cause affidavit and information states that William Downs, upon oath, says that on about February the 7th, 2022 in the Lake County, state of Indiana, Cameron Damar Cooks, while acting with the intent to intentionally shoot and kill Detective William Fazekas by shooting him and wounding him with a rifle, a deadly weapon, contrary to Indiana statute. Count 2 is aggravated battery. It's a level 3 felony in the state of Indiana. States that William Downs, upon oath, says that on about February the 7th, 2022 in the Lake County, state of Indiana, Cameron Cooks did knowingly or intentionally inflict injury to Detective William Fazekas as it created a substantial risk of death or caused serious permanent impairment or disfigurement, protracted loss of impairment of the body and members of the organ, contrary to Indiana law. There's 3 counts of resisting law enforcement, which is a level 6 in the state of Indiana. And I'll read the first count, and they're all very similar in nature. But the first count is William Downs, upon oath, did state on February 7, 2022, the County of Lake, state of Indiana, Cameron Cooks Jr. did knowingly or intentionally forcibly resist, obstruct, or interfere with Detective William Fazekas, law enforcement officer, while the officer was acting and engaging in a lawful duty as a law enforcement officer in the state of Indiana. In addition to that, we filed an additional count, striking a law enforcement animal. It states that William Downs, upon oath, on about February the 7th, 2022, the County of Lake, state of Indiana, Cameron Cooks Jr. did knowingly or intentionally strike, torment, injure, or mistreat Rocco, the law enforcement animal with the Gary Police Department. The count attempted murder, level 1, carries a maximum sentence of 40 years, a minimum of 20 years. The aggravated battery is a level 3, it carries 3 to 6 years. And the resisting law enforcement, we have multiple counts, carries anywhere from 1.5 years to 2.5 years. Those years could be stacked in addition to the 20 to 40 under the felony charge. Bond has been set at $140,000 and $14,000 in cash is posted by cash. I want to remind everyone that these are allegations. The defendant is presumed innocent until such trial. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Chief Evans of the Gary Police Department, and I want to first update you on the condition of Sergeant Fazekas. Sergeant Fazekas underwent surgery yesterday to reconstruct his arm and to help him regain the use of it. We're waiting to see if that surgery will prove successful, if he will have additional surgeries and can return home to his family. We expect him to have a long road to recovery, and we're thankful that he's still with us. In addition to that, I would like to thank two officers specifically, Donald Briggs and K9 Rocky, as well as Daniel Gutierrez. They definitely saved his life when Daniel Briggs applied the tourniquet to his arm, which definitely stopped him from bleeding to death out there on the scene. And Officer Gutierrez helping in apprehending him or finding where he went so we can get him. And K9 Rocky took him down for us without incident. We were able to bring him in. I also want to thank everyone of the Gary Police Department, the Lake County Sheriff's Department, all of our federal partners, ATF, FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, and every single department in Northwest Indiana who contacted me before I got to the hospital and said that they were on the way. We are a family here in Northwest Indiana. We work together collaboratively. In Indiana, we all are together when we come to anything in law enforcement, anything in the community. But I also want to reserve a special thanks to our citizens who immediately cooperated with us, gave us tips, offered videos from doorbell ringers or wherever they had it in our businesses. Our citizens are the best, and they always support us, and we thank them right from the deepest bottom of our heart. At this time, I want to introduce Commander Stewart.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Stewart, Commander of the Detective Bureau from the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Our department handled the investigation and the criminal charges that were put forth in this case. During the last several years, Sheriff Oscar Martinez has worked extensively with Gary. We have a very close working relationship with Gary. And the law enforcement community in Lake County, all the departments, is a very close-knit family. So when one of our officers goes down, everybody responds. On that day, there were representatives from every department within radio distance that showed up here to help locate evidence, find the suspect, check the perimeter, make sure that there was no further threat to the public safety. And through everybody's efforts, we were able to secure enough evidence and enough testimony and witnesses, etc., all of which is available in the affidavits that you guys will be provided to secure these charges. So thank all the departments, all the officers. That's it.
Good evening, Councilman Ron Brewer, Chairman of the Gary Public Safety Committee. Today is a good but sad day that we're here, and this day could have turned out a whole lot different than what we're standing here on today about. I want to just say my thanks to our Gary Police Department and our surrounding agencies that came together and to apprehend the suspect that we have thus far. And also to the citizens of this great community here who stepped up to the plate, as it has already been echoed. But I just want to send my personal thanks to each and every last one of you. This is one thing that we ask in our community, is to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what goes on, and participate in making sure that crimes of this nature is solved. I'm happy to see that Officer Barikas is doing well, and my well wishes go out to him and also to his family, and also to every police officer that served this community and our surrounding community. God bless you all. Stay safe out there. Councilwoman Ty Atkins is coming next.
Good afternoon. I'm Councilwoman Ty Atkins, Vice President of the Gary County Council and the representative of the 4th District on the council. I'll keep my message brief. On behalf of the executive branch as well as the legislative branch, I just wanted to give an extension to the citizens who did come to aid. It is very important that you assist the concert of law enforcement officers and entities who came together. And I think this was a prime example of that helped save one of our own as well. And so I just wanted to let the citizens know directly, we appreciate your support and your strength in aiding to assist in terms of giving us information, shows the strength of the city, just as the strength of the steel that's brewing in our backyard. So continue to engage when you see something, continue to work with both branches of government as well as your law enforcement entities so that we can continue to try to prevent things of this such in the future and moving forward. And also, on behalf of the legislative branch of Gary Common Council, I do want to extend my sincere well wishes to Sergeant Varakis and as well as his family, and let him know that we are continuing to keep him as well as his family in prayers as he continues through his healthy coming to. Thank you.
So as you can see, there's a lot of appreciation that exists today, and it can't be said enough. The acts of the men and women who protect this community every day certainly don't go unnoticed, but in a situation like this, it certainly expresses the importance of collaboration with people outside of our city as well. At this time, we'll certainly open it up to questions of the chief and possibly prosecutor.
Can the chief talk about the actual apprehension, where it took place, how it went down, and then, I'll let you finish that part, all right?
I'll be very brief about it. So on February 7th at 12:55 p.m., Sergeant Fazikis was traveling in his vehicle. He observed a traffic incident. He immediately stopped to render aid or see what was going on. And before he could exit his vehicle, he was fired upon by the suspect that is in custody. In the area, 2 other officers were towing vehicles, which was a very short distance away, to clear them for the plowing that was going on. They heard the shots. Sergeant Fazikis was hit immediately and exited his vehicle after being wounded and tried to defend himself. Sergeant Briggs immediately rendered aid as the suspect ran away, and Sergeant and Officer Gutierrez followed the individual to an abandoned house a short distance from there, but he lost positive track of him and decided to wait for backup as we called other officers out to the scene immediately. Our K-9, Rocky, was able to do a track because the suspect did leave items at the scene that we were able to use to track him to a short distance later to the home which he was found in.
Who lives at that home where he was found?
Pardon?
Who lives at the home where he was found?
It's abandoned, no one lives there.
Abandoned home.
You mentioned video from the public. Are you able to make any of that available to us?
I cannot, it's still an well, I don't know how that goes at this point, to be perfectly honest, because the investigation in the case is ongoing, but we did utilize video to determine 2 things. Number one, we didn't know if we had more than one suspect out in the public. That was a concern. And so that's why we actually had a lot of law enforcement out there for several hours, and using witness statements and some videos from the area, we were able to determine that that was the only suspect that we had to find and determine that the community was safe.
Is Mr. Cooks known to your department? Have you had contact with him prior?
We have.
Okay, can you say what the circumstances were of that?
Mr. Cook has a criminal history with us, and he is affiliated with some groups in the area that we are monitoring.
How far back does his criminal history go?
A few years.
What's a few?
22. 4 years.
4.
4 years, okay. Did you say how old he is?
22 years old.
22? Okay, 22. When you apprehended him, what weapons did you find? What did he have? You say he shot the sergeant with a rifle? Did he still have that rifle?
It should be in the charging affidavit, the complete inventory of what happened, but we found 2 weapons at the scene. Again, he did this, Mr. Cooks didn't have a weapon on him at the time, but we did recover weapons at the scene and weapons that he had.
Okay, and what weapon, so you had, can you tell me what those weapons, I know it's here, but I'd like you to.
I don't want to give you the wrong caliber, the wrong type.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Carol Carlson.
Yeah,
Yes.
was there an existing warrant out on Cooks, and was the block modified? Because it does say in the charging affidavit that there was a piece on it that enabled him to fire multiple rounds.
Yes, that's part of the charges about the Glock that was modified. I don't believe he had a warrant out at the time. We certainly weren't looking for him, and that's not how we came in contact with him.
Is there, and you may have, this may be in here, and I'm just getting to the party late, so I apologize for that. But what was the impetus, for him opening fire on the officer? What happened?
I couldn't tell you what his motivation was for firing upon the officer. The officer hadn't even exited his vehicle to make contact with them. I can just say that in this day and age, we have to all be vigilant and all be careful We live in a time with COVID and other situations are going on where people are, I just can't explain that. I can't explain his motivations at all.
Sure, we'll take a couple more questions if there are any. If not, thank you all very much. Chief.